Hi everyone. Today video is on a CRUD operation demo with Blazor WebAssembly. Okay, using Strawberry Shake GraphQL client library and MudBlazor UI library, we are going to consume a GraphQL API. So basically, in the Blazor WebAssembly application, we are going to consume the GraphQL API endpoint. Since consuming a GraphQL API endpoint directly bit difficult framing the queries. So we have a predefined library that is a Strawberry Shake GraphQL client library. So we are going to use this library inside of our Blazor WebAssembly application, and we are going to consume the GraphQL endpoint very easy. So what is Strawberry Shake library? Strawberry Shake is a open source GraphQL client that is compliant with the newest GraphQL draft specs. Okay, that consists of newest GraphQL specs. Okay, which makes Strawberry Shake compatible with all GraphQL compliant servers like Hot Chocolate, Apollo Server, and GraphQL Java and various servers. So it can consume any kind of GraphQL server API. Okay, so Strawberry Shake will generate the schema of GraphQL server, which will help us to invoke the GraphQL endpoint. So Strawberry Shake simply what it will do, based on the server, it will generate a schema on the client side. Okay, so all the complex logic will be done in the backdoor by the Strawberry Shake. We have to do simply utilize the resources created by the Strawberry Shake for invoking the GraphQL endpoint. Okay. And here is my GraphQL API, okay, which I have created using Hot Chocolate GraphQL in .NET 6. So how to create GraphQL at server side using the Hot Chocolate library, I have already made a video and the link for the video will be available in the description. So if you want to go through, you can watch that video. So this is my GraphQL API. Since I am going to use the consume the GraphQL API in my client, right? So I need to set up the server API. So this is my GraphQL server endpoint. So this is my GraphQL project I am running in my local machine. So what I will do, I am going to consume this API into my Blazor WebAssembly application. Okay. So to work with Strawberry Shake, we have to install Strawberry Shake CLI tool into our local machine. Okay, first let's configure those CLI tool commands. Now create a folder in our local machine where we want to create our CLI project. So in that folder first we have to run few commands for setting up the CLI. So those commands are like we have two commands. So .NET new tool manifest. So this going to create a manifest tool, nothing but a JSON file. Okay. In that JSON file, we want to enable the Strawberry Shake tools. So to enable that, we have to run this command. Okay. First create the manifest. Okay. So open command prompt and run the first command. Okay. Now you can see here configurations tools JSON file has been created, right? Okay, now we have to run the second command that's going to install Strawberry Shake tools into our local system. Okay, so copy that. Okay, now run the Strawberry Shake tools command as well. So here you can see it was successfully installed. Now let's create a Blazor WebAssembly application and I want to use the MudBlazor UI component. So this is the MudBlazor official website where we can find the configurations for installing them into our Blazor WebAssembly application. Okay. So if you want to install manually, you can follow all the below commands for configuring the MudBlazor UI libraries. But MudBlazor from .NET 6 onward as providing a default template where we can create a Blazor WebAssembly template or Blazor server template with the default configurations of the MudBlazor UI by simply running these commands. So first run this .NET new install MudBlazor templates command into your local machine. Okay, so I am running this command. Now the second command for creating your application. Okay. So using this command, now I can get a Blazor WebAssembly application with the default configuration. Okay, so I'm going to create a small change. I want to create a folder. Okay, output directory. O means if you don't specify O, all the files will directly generated in this location. But I want to create a one more folder, and in that folder I want to create my application. In that case, we can specify flag like O and my application like Wasm demo. Project has been successfully created. So let's open the project in Visual Studio Code Editor. Okay, and this is my project, and you can see the target framework like 6.0, and it has Blazor configurations, and it also has the MudBlazor configurations by default configured. Okay, let's run the application and look at the preview of our website. So our Blazor application with MudBlazor UI components configured look like this. Okay. Now we have to install few NuGet packages that are related to some are Strawberry Shake library and some are related to our .NET Blazor WebAssembly. Okay, let's install them one by one. The first NuGet we have to install, that is Strawberry Shake transport.http NuGet library. So let's copy the command, install it. And the next library we have to install, that is Strawberry Shake code generation dot C sharp dot analyzers. Okay, copy the command. And the next NuGet package that we have to install, that is Microsoft dot extensions dot dependency injection, and install it. And next NuGet that we have to install is Microsoft dot extensions dot HTTP. Copy the command. Okay, those are the required NuGet packages for our demo. And next, we have to generate a GraphQL schema and a client file based on the server GraphQL endpoint. So this is my GraphQL server endpoint, right? So here is the my GraphQL project. Okay, so this is my GraphQL endpoint, right? I want to generate a schema. Whatever queries or mutations present in the server, I want to generate a schema and I want to create a client file. That client file contains all HTTP request calls. Okay, so that can be done by running a strawberry shake command. So let's create that command to generate a schema into our client side Blazor WebAssembly application. So for generating the GraphQL client schema into our Blazor WebAssembly application, this is the Strawberry Shake command, that is like .NET, okay, and GraphQL init, and here you need to specify your GraphQL server domain. So my GraphQL server domain is this one, localhost 7177/GraphQL. Okay, and next space n, and here is the name of the client class. So once this command is run successfully and queries are added, then Strawberry Shake will generate a one client file. That client file contains all the uh, HTTP calls methods, okay, or query or mutation methods. Okay, so we have to specify the client name of that client class, and next -p for path, and here we have to specify the folder path. So here I am going to generate creating here I want to create a folder name like cake GQL schema. So all the schema that going to generated will be stored into this folder. Okay, let's copy this command and go to our Blazor server application, run the command. So here we can see our command is successful, and here we can observe a cake GraphQL schema folder is generated. So this going to contains all our schema regarding to our server application. Okay. So in here now, what you have to do means go to the .graphql rc.json file, and here we have to do some changes like small change. We can add namespace, okay, and I am going to give the namespace of my application. So this is the namespace. So why this namespace we have to specify means, so here is the name of the client. So this name, with this name, one C# class will be generated. Okay, in upcoming steps I will show that. So to that class we are saying add this namespace, use this namespace. Okay. So now let's do some read operation. Okay, into our application. So what I will do, I am going to consume the GraphQL endpoint. So this is the query for fetching the data. Okay. So I am going to consume this endpoint and bind it into my UI, where I'm going to use index.razor page itself. Okay. So first is first, we have to create this kind of query. Okay. For that, what we can do, go to our application and in the cake GQL schema, add a file like query GQL. Okay. Dot GraphQL. Okay. So this file can have all our server queries. Okay. So what I will do, I will copy this and paste this query here. And here we have to do one more thing. Here we have to specify a one additional name. Okay. So I will specify like get all cake. So why to specify a name here? Because now we are going to generate a client class in this folder. So that client class will store this query under a method name. So that name is taken or created from this name. Okay. So we have to specify a name after query keyword. Okay. Now save and build the project. Okay. Project is built successfully. And we have to observe one thing. There is a generated folder here. See, this is our client class. Our client class is generated here. Okay. This is the strawberry client class that contains all our queries or mutation related methods as a properties in this file. We have to configure one HTTP client instance. Go to program.cs file and we have to register the HTTP instance here. For that, dot services dot add cake. See here, one method is auto generated, that is add cake GraphQL client. So that is generated by this name. So we have to register the HTTP client instance that was generated by the strawberry shake. Okay. And here we have to configure HTTP client. Okay. Options dot base URL equal to new URI. And here we have to specify our server URL. Server URL I can copy from this configuration file and paste it here. So here what we are doing, here we just set the HTTP client configuration for our cake GQL client. Okay. Here we are getting this data, right? So let's create a response model in our Blazor WebAssembly application. Create a folder like DTOs and create a file like cake dto.cs. So this is our response model. Let's add properties to it. Okay, our response model looks like this. Now go to the index.razor component. So here I am going to display all my content by applying all the CRUD operation here. Okay, so what I will do, I will remove this code. And first thing is we have generated a strawberry shake client class, right? So we have to inject it here. To do that, at the rate inject cake GQL. So here, to avoid the namespacing issues, we have to import a namespace like imports Razor file. Now in the imports.razor page, let's add the namespace of our GQL client. So that is this namespace. Copy this namespace. Okay. Now we can access all the GQL client. Okay. That is coming from this namespace. Okay. So we have to inject the client class. That is like cake GQL client class. Okay. Now let's add some MudBlazor UI components for displaying our all collection of items. From API, I'm getting this all right. So we are going to bind it here. For that, let's add some MudBlazor components. So these are the few Blazor UI components that I am going to use. What I did here, added MudGrid and added item into it. Inside of it, I am going to add the card. So I am going to loop this card for displaying my content. Okay. So that's about the UI changes. Let's add some .NET code, C# code. Okay. So here I want to create a variable like list of cake DTO. Okay. And let's import the DTO namespace as well here. Okay. So let's create a collection of cakes DTO. Okay. I want to loop all these cakes DTO in my UI. So for that, what I can do, I will loop this item. Okay. Here, all cake. So copy this entire mud item into it. Now here, I can bind the my data like at the rate cake dot name at the rate. Okay. But we have to invoke the our GraphQL endpoint, right? So for that, we are going to use a lifecycle method like protected override async is a default one of the default lifecycle method of the Blazor. So here I am going to invoke the API call. So for that, here result equal to await. We have injected cake GQL client, right? We are going to use this for invoking the API calls. So cake GQL dot and here see GQL. It is a property. How this property is generated? If you go to our query GQL file, here we have defined one name, right? So this query is stored under this property that was auto generated by the or taken care by the strawberry shake library. Okay. So here we are going to use execute async method. So this is going to invoke the API call. So once we got the response, we are going to assign it to the all cakes DTO like result dot data dot all cakes. So where this data and all cakes properties are coming, all these properties are coming, see data and all cakes. So everything strawberry shake can analyze and create the schema into this folder so that we can directly use them without doing hard work by ourselves for creating the query and invoking the API call. Okay, so that is the benefit of using the Strawberry Shake library. So from this I can select and I can assign to my cake DTO class. Okay, so that is our logic. Now let's run and test the application. See, here we can see three boxes. So if I inspect element and go to networks, if I reload again and watch the network calls carefully. See, here is the GraphQL call. See, this is our server call, and here is our query operation request that I automatically generated by the Strawberry Shake and invoked the API call. And if you observe the response, we got three records from the server, and those three records are binding here. So that is the end of the read operation. Now let's try to implement the create operation. So create operation means mutation, right? So here is the my query for mutation server side. Okay. So we have to implement or integrate this into our Blazor WebAssembly application. So in CakeGQL, we need to add one more file for mutations. Okay. So I will name it like mutation GQL GraphQL. Okay. Now add the mutation query here. So let me add the mutation query here. Okay. And here, similar to query for mutation also, we have to specify the name. So this is for create, right? So I will name it like create cake. Okay. So once any change we added to this file, we have to build the project. So once we build the project, this file will be updated automatically. Okay. Now go to index.razor page. Okay. Here what we can do, I want to open a pop-up for creating or updating the data. So I will create a generic pop-up. I will use it for both create and update. So for that, let me create a one more Blazor component like. Okay. So here, let's add some form data inside of the MudDialog component. Okay. Let me add the form data here. So here I have rendered MudDialog component for displaying the pop-up, and inside of it, it has two child MudDialog and MudActions. So MudDialog content, I am adding three form fields. Okay. So here each form field we have to specify the type of data we have to bind. So here I want to bind string, here I want to bind decimal, here I want to bind again string. Okay. So now let's add some C# code. Okay. So we have to add a mud dialog instance. Okay. As mud dialog property, and it is a cascading property. Okay. Cascading property means that it comes from the parent. Okay. So this MudDialog instance gives control over this MudDialog component. Okay. And here we are going to create one more public property, that is cake DTO. I name it like cake. Okay. So it will be passed from the parent. Okay. So this property I am going to use for the data binding here. So to enable the data binding here, what we can do means @bind hyphen value. Okay. And here I can specify like name. Okay. Similarly bind other properties to the text fields. Price. So two-way binding enabled. Okay. Now let's add click event methods here, like private void cancel. Okay. I have mentioned MudDialog instance gives control over this MudDialog component, right? So here using MudDialog property, we can cancel. Cancel means it closes the pop-up. Okay. Similarly, for OK also I have to create a method like submit. Okay. So so here while submitting, I want to pass some data back to the parent component that invokes this component. Okay, that is nothing but our index.rather component in my class. So here what I will do, I will use close. So inside of that close, I can use dialog result dot OK, and I want to send cake DTO data. So I will simply pass the cake property. Okay, what it will do on closing this result will be sent back to the index.rather component. Nothing but a parent component that invoking this component. Okay. Now let's register them for on click. So button click events. So on click equal to cancel. Okay. On click equal to what is our other method? Submit. Now I want to add a button so that on clicking that button, we have to show the model pop-up. Okay. Now on clicking this button, we have to invoke a event, click event. So let's write a click event like, okay, this is the method I want to invoke on clicking the add a cake button. Here I have to prepare a parameters for my pop-up. So for that, let instantiate dialog parameters. Okay, so parameters dot. So for one parameter I want to send is cake instance. Okay, so for here I will simply return a cake instance, but the property here we have to send like a key value pair, like parameter and object value. So the name should be exact name of this property name in this component. Okay. So copy that name and I'm going to send the empty cake instance. Okay. And next where dialog equal to, okay. Now to invoke the dialog, we have to inject a dialog service like, okay, inject that dialog service. It is not dialog service, dialog service. Okay, it is a synchronous one. Dialog service show. Okay, here we have to specify the our pop-up component type. So what is our pop-up? Add or update dialog. So this is name nothing but the this component name. Okay. So here open the braces and the first parameter will be the title for our component. So I will pass a component like create a cake. And next parameter will be the parameters we have explicitly added. So the parameters dot result. Okay. So this line going to invoke the pop-up. Okay. Once pop-up is closed by clicking cancel button or OK, after that only the remaining lines after this will be executed. So here what we can write like logic like dialog dot data not equal to null. That means if it is clicked OK button, then this field contains some data. If it is clicked some cancel button, then it will be null. Okay, so this will be invoked only for submit clicking on OK button on the pop-up. We have two buttons, right? Like cancel and OK. If cancel click, data will be null. If submit click, since we are passing some data, right, that will be assigned to this data property. Okay. So now what I can do, cake dto dot new cake. So I want to read the data from the our form. Okay, as cake dto. I'm converting. Okay, next once go to our mutation file. Here you can observe in the query, here this highlighted cake input. This is a GraphQL type. Okay. Now what I will do, and it is also GraphQL variable type. So where GQL payload and carefully observe, I'm initializing a new cake input. Okay. So this is generated from this GraphQL type. Okay. So this is the variable GraphQL variable type where payload has to be passed. So that type is generated here. Okay. Now we have to map our data to this type. Okay. Like this, we have to map. Now what we can do, let's invoke the API. So for that, I can use SQL client and create cake. See, this property is generated from this method name. Okay, dot execute async, and to this method we have to pass our GQL payload. Okay, now what I will do for this new cake.id, I am going to here I am expecting full object, right? ID name, but I am going to assign the new record ID to the this data. Okay, so result dot data dot save. I think we lost intelligence, but what this name is, this name will be nothing but this name because API returns this as a child object type to the data object. So copy that and it should be capital. And inside of it we have our cake object. this object. So I want only ID. Okay. Now what I will do, I will update all cakes by inserting my newly created record at the top. Okay. And now let's register our method to the button click event. The rate on click equal to, paste it here. Okay, small correction here we have await it. One small correction here. It should be at the rate on click, all are small. Okay. Also, let's correct the click event here as well. Okay. In pop-up also change the click event. I have given wrongly. And here correct this method as well. Okay, here is our add button. Click on it. Here it will show some pop-up. Let me add a new item. Okay, and open the network calls. Okay, and now hit on OK. See, the new record is added, and if you observe endpoint, if you see payload here, you can see our mutation. Okay, and our newly added record response, its ID. Okay, so that's the end of the create operation. Now let's understand the update operation. So for update, this is my query. Okay, so what I will do, copy this and paste it inside of the mutation itself. Give some space and paste it. Okay, now we forgot to give a name, right? So give the name update cake, because this name will be used as a property. So build again project. Now to check our mutation has been successfully updated or not, what we can do to verify it, what I can do here, I simply use underscore cake GQL client dot. I have to search for update. Now I am getting property update, right? That means our mutation has been successfully updated. So now let's work on our update functionality. Inside of our card, let me add one more child component like mud actions. Okay. Inside of it, let me add my edit button. Okay. So to this button, we have to create a click event. So to this method, I am going to receive a ID. Okay. Similar to the create, we can, what I can do, I will copy this. I can almost copy the entire code and refactor it to support the update. Okay. So paste it over here. Okay. And first thing, I have to send the data to the form. So I should send some valid data. So for that, first I need to fetch the record that I want to update. For that, what I can do, I will query the all cakes with the ID. Okay. So pass this here. Okay. And here it is update, right? So change the title of the model like update. Similarly, we are going to receive data. Okay. So here what I will do, updated cake, right? So this is the data from the form. And here also for update also same input type. So we no need to change the payload type. Okay. Okay. And then I have to change this property, that is I have to use update cake. So this name nothing but this name generated as a property. Okay. So what I will do here, all cakes dot remove. I'm going to remove this data. Okay. Initial before updating data is there, right? In the collection, I want to remove that. Okay. And I want to insert again newly updated data at the top. For that, 0, comma, I can pass updated cake. Okay. So this is my logic. So what I am doing here, we preparing dialog properties by fetching the record that I want to create. And next here, we are simply invoking the call and removing the old data and updating the new data. So let's register the click event for our edit button. So on click, okay, update cake async, and here I have to pass my cake.id. Okay, I hope this should work. Let's run and test it. So here we can see edit button, right? So let me update my newly created record. So what I will do, I will update name like strawberry cool cake and it should be 90 button. See, data is successfully updated. And if we refresh also, we can see the latest updated data. Okay, so that is the end of our update operation. And final operation, that is delete operation. Okay, so our GraphQL command for delete is like this. So delete also a mutation. So copy the command and go to our Blazor server and add it in mutation file. Okay, and name it like delete cake. Okay, now build the project. Now to check delete property has been created or not, what we can do, await take GQL and type like delete. See, delete is generated. That means our query is updated successfully. Now let's add a button for delete. Okay, so button for delete. I will copy this and paste it here, and I will change color like error. It will apply red color. Okay, and it should be not edit icon. It should be delete. Okay, and it should be method like, okay, copy this, let's create that method. So this is our method for deleting the record. So here what I will do, here I want to show a small message box. I won't create another dialog, but there is a one more option to show a small message box like confirmation box, that is like await using iDialog service dot show message box. So this going to show a small message box with displaying some simple message. So here my message like delete confirmation. Okay, that is heading, and delete can't be undone. Okay, once deleted we can't revert it, and it will have text boxes like as text, that means confirm the action. I will name it like delete, and another field like cancel text. It will simply closes the box and it won't do any action. Okay, Now what I can do, if result equal to true, when it will true, when the user clicks on S button, means delete button. If he click on cancel, this will be null, result variable will be null, and this code will not executed. Okay. So now what I can do, await GQL client, delete, okay, execute async, and we have to pass the ID to it. ID we want to delete. And next, what we will do, where cake to remove equal to all cakes dot where ID equal to ID first dot default, and remove that record from our all collection. So that's it. We simply removing the data here and removing it from our collection. Okay. Now let's run the application and test it. Okay. Now here you can see the delete button. Let me delete my so let me create my newly created record. See, here is a nice small pop-up like delete confirmation. If I click on cancel, it won't do anything. Open network calls to observe the delete call. So if I click on confirm delete, the record is removed. And if I check the network calls, see here, payload, here variable we are sending to delete our record. And if we refresh also, we will only see 3 records. So from this, we can confirm that our newly created record is deleted successfully. So that's all about the Blazor WebAssembly CRUD operations by consuming the GraphQL endpoint using the Strawberry Shake client library. Okay, I hope this video has delivered some useful information to you all. So if you like my video, please support me by subscribing to my channel. Soon we are going to meet with new videos. Until then, signing off.